start of another working week. Today being Monday the 29th of July 2019. Welcome to another edition of the Star Good Morning Show here on Star Television. We broadcast live from our Media One Center 3 Mama Street, Brookfields in Freetown. My name is Abdul Rahman Kaba. Top stories in the program. The Petroleum Directorate, under the Office of the President, in partnership with the Environment Protection Agency Sierra Leone, has on Friday, 26 July 2019, held a consultative workshop on the draft report on environmental, social, and health impact assessment relating to a proposed two-dimensional long offshore seismic survey in the offshore waters of Sierra Leone at their Kingdom office in Freetown. The West African Civil Society Forum, WASCOF, a regional body of civil societies, has updated media practitioners and the general public on their ongoing regional capacity building on the African Charter on Democracy, Election and Governance at the Buntumani Hall, Conference Hall in Freetown. All this, including sport, will be part of the program. I have with me in the studio the Executive Director for Art Concern, Abubakar Darami. He is here to talk to me on the impact of environmental degradation and deforestation. Darami, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Abdul Rahman. Good morning, Star TV, and good morning to our viewers out there.
But so remember, you can be part of this program by sending us messages on the number 077 600 324. I go over it, 077 600 324. The Star Good Morning Show is proudly sponsored by Local Commercial Bank.
Did you say you want to talk to me?
Yes, my brother. I get stress, bank stress.
I need money right.
So go put money in my bank, no problem. So go put money in my bank, no problem. I was up in the line all day just for put money and pull money. And the loan system, look me business, they go down the drain. We don't get loan system. Me, I just tired.
Now that's the stress you.
Yes, my brother. Now me stress standing.
Let that not be stress. Because my your bank was the bank when I Local Commercial Bank. When I the award-winning bank for 2018, where they don't win so many awards inside Freetown and even self outside Salon. Yes, they even recognize them at the international world as they win one of the most prestigious awards from Nigeria as the best corporate bank na Salon. They don't even count financial inclusion, which it means say they want to involve everybody in a Salon. Never mind the kind of business way they do. If na pepper self they sell in the market or any other petty business they do. And even self they don't left the comfort zone for going to bonds. When at the island, where you don't say, where people that avoid for the banking business, they don't go there for let the people themselves, they part of the financial inclusion within the park. And self, they get plenty other products where you will meet you day-to-day needs. Then gets like the keke account. When for them boys and when they ride the keke them. And self then gets the Osusu account. Then get MasterCard, other platform that they will take money like SimCorp. When a new banking system where they don't count the business now inside your phone they do you know, you no need for go you need it snap that long queue. As then at the award-winning bank, they want to maintain that standard and they want to satisfy the customers. Let them make sure say everybody can inside the bank system. Then nobody not left out. Now for can open account to them, it's simple. You 50,000, 100,000, you're okay.
Thank you, my brother. I need for one go now Local Commercial Bank right now. I beg no drink so that this is good news.
Local Commercial Bank, mama. Local Commercial Bank, bank with Local Commercial Bank #1. Bank with Local Commercial Bank #1.
You're most welcome if you're just joining us on Star Television, where we broadcast live from our Media One Center 3 Mama Street, Brookfields in Freetown. The Petroleum Directorate, under the Office of the President, in partnership with the Environment Protection Agency Sierra Leone, has on Friday, 26 July 2019, held a consultative workshop on the draft report on environmental, social, health impact assessment relating to a proposed two-dimensional long offshore seismic survey in the offshore waters of Sierra Leone at their Kingdom office in Freetown. Creighton Thomas has the details of this report.
A 3D seismic survey reveals
The Petroleum Director, under the Office of the President, in partnership with the Environment Protection Agency Sierra Leone, has on Friday, 26 July 2019, held a consultative workshop on the draft report on environmental, social and health impact assessment in relating to a proposed two-dimensional long offset seismic survey in the offshore waters of Sierra Leone at their Kingdom office in Freetown. The disclosure, according to the Executive Director of Petroleum Directorate, Timothy Kaba, will present an appropriate opportunity for frank exchange of views and possible input from wider stakeholding community on the assessment report. He maintained that the seismic survey project is intended to support the fourth licensing round by generating data over unexplored areas and enable the filling of prevailing knowledge gap. Timothy Kaba further revealed that interested international oil companies will secure the accrued data and enhance their investment decision-making process and as well as drilling planning ultimately. He noted that seismic surveys produce detailed images and related information about various rock types and their location beneath the Earth's surface that will determine the location and size of oil and gas reservoirs. Offshore seismic survey technique has proved to unrivaled in generating appropriate data from miles beneath the survey and has also proved to be environmentally harmless.
The Petroleum Directorate has relaunched its fourth licenses round, following the industry consultation that was extensively held. In December of last year, the PD entered a contractual agreement with GeoPartners, a UK-based company, for the acquisition of 2D long offset seismic data offshore Sierra Leone. In our inventory of data, we do have existing 2D seismic data and 3D data with several well data. But every day in the industry, new grounds are broken, new technological innovations are made. Today, we have gotten to a point where we want to reduce the risk that is involved in offshore drilling. Offshore drilling is quite expensive, technology intensive. It requires money, but in most cases, ultra deep water exploration exercises have been unsuccessful. This is likely because companies have not mastered the art of exploring in ultra deep water. So when we entered this agreement with GeoPartners, it was to de-risk investment for international oil and gas companies. Given the fact that we have this bid round, we needed to leverage our investment, we needed to remain competitive, we needed to be seen as a destination for further exploration in the West African margin. So GeoPartners proposed to us a cutting-edge technology in the form of a 2D long offset technology. This will acquire data in areas that are ultra deep water where we do not have sufficient seismic information. So, finally, GeoPartners they've decided together with the Petroleum Directorate to conduct this survey so we could use this data to attract more investment into our basin.
A representative from the Environment Protection Agency Sierra Leone, Madam Masakoi, commended Intigem for undertaking a scoping study that informed that a detailed analysis of the environmental impact assessment for the seismic survey and reiterated the agency concerned to formalize the process before the issuance of an EIA license, signaling the commencement of the survey.
The Environmental Protection Agency Act of 2008 gives the legal backings to conduct the EIA studies for all projects that falls within the schedules. However, the Act and the guidelines developed help stakeholders to ensure effective EIA administrations in Sierra Leone. Environmental impact assessment is a planning and management tool that aims at identifying and evaluating at the earliest possible planning stage environmental changes which are caused by a specific project activity or development scheme.
It could be recalled that the fourth licensing round had been relaunched last May following industry consultation that had followed its suspension after initial launch. Timothy Kaba expressed optimism that with the growth and development of the petroleum unit, the country will realize full economic viability of the sector under the current government's new direction. He intimated that the offshore waters of Sierra Leone contain proven petroleum systems, the understanding of which is supported by an inventory of extremely high-quality geological and geophysical data, with much of this data being made available for the first time.
What it could mean for Sierra Leone, it could mean opening new doors and new opportunities for the furtherance of exploration offshore Sierra Leone. We have existing data, but this particular set of seismic data has improved resolutions. It has improved technology that could reveal the presence of hydrocarbon in our offshore. And it also extends to areas that are at the moment underexplored and where we've got little geological and geophysical information about.
He furthered that the country's fourth licensing round has generated significant levels of interest from the international oil and gas industry, as revealed by Jonathan Kupos. Compiled by Abdurrahman Kamar, Creighton Thomas reporting.
So are we in agreement? Can we say yes again?
Yes.
Can we say yes again?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Creighton Thomas, for that comprehensive report. My guest in the studio is the Executive Director for ArtConSan, Abubakar Durami. Is here to talk to me on some of the upcoming challenges in the area of deforestation and land degradation. Durami, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning once again, and good morning again to our viewers out there.
Let's begin to look at what your organization, ArtConSan, really provides in terms of understanding intervention in addressing critical environmental challenges.
Well, ArtConSan is an environmental organization that deals with wide range of environmental activities that will support and protect the current condition of this earth, of our living space. And definitely, you know that it is because of our human activities, different activities such as irresponsible agriculture, reforestation, deforestation, irresponsible marine conservation, irresponsible hygiene, irresponsible a lot of other whole of activities will lead to environmental degradation, and all these are the things that we're trying to work against, and these are the things that we're trying to combat. I was just looking at the story just now by the Petroleum Directorate with the Environmental Protection Agency, which I take a lot of concern in, because from our organization we deal with marine conservation, and if we are talking about oil drilling and drilling right there offshore, which means we have to do environmental impact assessment. I have to look at that. I'll definitely contact them to see how far they have gone in that, because definitely that will destroy marine conservation, and a lot of species will be moved out, and a lot of other things will happen. And I'm talking about oil drilling and all. We have to make sure there are a lot of protection, there are a lot of means and measures in case of a burst in the oil pipes and all the rest of it that will pollute a little the ocean. A lot of other things we have to look at. So definitely it is another area that I'll spring up, because I'm in relations marine conservation in the UK, working various other international environmental organizations and environmental groups to make sure that we work towards combating environmental problems. It is not just Sierra Leone. When we're doing this, we have to make sure, and we make sure that we work with various other organizations from other countries and all around the world, because the world is now a global village. We have to make sure that what's happened in Sierra Leone, what we are protecting in Sierra Leone should be protected in Liberia, should be protected in Guinea, in Malawi, in the UK, in the US, in China, and all other places. Because if one thing happened one place, definitely the earth is just one globe, and we have to make sure that we protect it as a whole. Presently, my organization is working around various communities along the hillside of the western area peninsula, and the entire area that we're talking about the Mountain Cut area, we're talking about the Mount Toriel, Leicester Peak, we're looking at Goderich area, the New Jersey area, we're looking at the Sussex area, going towards the Pamuron Corner, so Wellington, going towards the Approved School, further up those areas, going towards Waterloo, and all these other areas. We are sensitizing the communities in these places, telling them about deforestation, and enlightening them about planting trees. And in the long run, in the future, definitely we'll start giving them the seedlings and the trees so that they will plant them. We have seen what's been happening. Government been doing a lot of, government been doing well in supporting the National Cleaning Exercise every Saturday, but we do see whenever we have rain we see the entire city become slum. We see the entire city become, I mean, a garbage place. I mean, what's the reason of all that? We see people every Saturday. We clean our gutters, we clean our backyards, and we clean all these other places. But once the rain drop down, because all these trees or most of these trees have been cut down, because deforestation has been taking place in all this area, we see that once the rain drops down, the earth moves very, very fast. The water moves very, very fast. Move down with stones, with earth and debris, and bring them all to these gutters all around the city. And whenever we have rain, like last night, it was raining heavy for the past couple of days. If you go down a lot of areas around the city, you'll just think that this place have not been cleaned for the past year or two. So we are working around all this, working with communities, and trying to enlighten them and talk to them and all. But one other problem that we've noticed around most of these activities happening now, all this dirt coming down to the city, into the streets and all, I think we have to work again with the government. Definitely we are working with the government. We have to work again with the government and especially the Ministry of Local Government to see how the cleaning of this city and the cleaning of various other cities can be mapped out and strategized and re-strategized again. Because I think what's happening now is that people keep their garbages in their compounds and just wait for the cleaning Saturday. The cleaning Saturday, they dump everything out there in the street. That is one challenge we have, that we do see on the cleaning Saturday. The trucks of the people gathering all this dirt cannot do it in just one day or in a couple of hours. They have to stay for a couple of days out there. And people, when it rains now, they just come with all their garbages, they throw them down these streams, and all these things run down to the city. So there should be collection point of garbages each and every day. It should not be a one-off thing. If we are waiting for this one-off thing, these are the results, and this is what we'll be seeing each and every day.
Okay, Darami, just to make a quick clarification here by way of enlightening the lay public, that the current draft report is a report where a British company won the bid to undertake a seismic survey in the offshore waters of Sierra Leone, and what they did by way of fulfilling the local content policy, they subcontracted Intergem, a local company here, to undertake the study, and they completed the study. And the draft of that report will be tabled before the EPA Sierra Leone to give its a clear justification as to why the licenses to survey should be issued in the first place. So I am only making because I'm pretty much aware as to what entails. So they've done all the preliminary studies, and it is left with the Sierra Leone Environmental Protection Agency to look at it critically and with other key stakeholders to see why they need to issue out the licensing for the survey to go on. But that aside, I'm pretty much interested in what you refer to as responsible agricultural practices. What, in your view, constitute best agricultural practices?
Well, thank you, Abraham. Let me just rub off on your first statement first. I'm happy that a study has been done on that particular coming to do the oil drilling and stuff like that, and that report will be tabled to Environmental Protection Agency. I'm happy that you say it is a draft, and I know that once it gets to EPA, we will all get there and make sure that we look at it. While we're looking at it, make sure the I's and the T's are being crossed and dotted properly, and we hold that report up. And we look at the company while they'll be doing their job and make sure they do not flout any environmental laws. Because when you look at it, yes, drilling oil will bring a lot of revenue to the country, will bring a lot of money to the people of this country. But on the other hand, we have people and other companies that do survive in the same waters through fishing and various other livelihood activities and all. We have to make sure it's a symbiotic relationship. We have to make sure we support each other and all the rest of it. So we have to look at the report. Once it's been tabled, then we'll see how we can work with the Environmental Protection Agency and various other agencies or organizations to make sure that all is well and all happens in the right way. In another hand, you ask about responsible agriculture. Responsible agriculture is one that do happen. We are in one. What we are looking at, big companies or multilateral companies, they do use fertilizers. We have to make sure the kind of fertilizers being used is being protected there in such a way that it does not wash down that easily down to the stream, and the waters down the stream are being treated. If the fertilizers, these are chemical substance. If they wash down the stream and they mix with this water down the stream, going down to these villages and towns along the river line, All these villages and towns depend on that water on that stream for their drinking, for their cooking, for their bathing and all. And definitely that will not be good. That will cause diseases and various other things and all. That is on one side. On another hand, if these waters are being contaminated, these are the waters that run into these various swamps in these villages and towns, and definitely we have to make sure that they are being treated, because that's what support their livelihood, their swamps and their farms and all. That is one. On another hand, we're looking at agriculture. Yes, agriculture, you need land to be able to cultivate. But if we're cultivating on these lands, we have to make sure that we boost productivity. And talking about boosting productivity is not about how much hectares of land that you plow. Like, for example, in Sierra Leone, from studies that have been done and what we have presently in Sierra Leone, in 1 hectare, if you do rice and harvest, the maximum you'll get is about when you apply fertilizer and all the other pesticides and herbicides, the maximum you get is about 2.5, 2.6 tons per hectare, or 2.8 in some cases. We are in the same piece of land in places in Asia, like Vietnam and China, you get about 16, 17 tons per hectare. You start to ask yourself, what's the question? If we're talking about agriculture, and we're talking about moving agriculture to the next step, is it about increasing the acreage, or is it about doing what is right so that we can consolidate our activities in the small plot of land and get more? Once you can do that in that small plot of land, then you can expand. Looking at various other areas, increasing land, that leads to deforestation, cutting down trees, brushing down a lot of areas. But when you look at that, the way we do it is you see people burning down the bushes and all, then there is no way you will burn down a bush and go to plant in that bush the next year and you expect to get maximum yield. Because through a system called percolation, you will destroy the nutrients in that soil by fire. And for the soil to replenish back those particular nutrients, it takes 10 years. So for people, or some people in the villages thinking that when you put fire in this piece of land, the ash will neutralize the soil, and definitely because of the ash you'll get maximum yield. I will tell you outrightly, there's no research and nothing about that is true. If you want, you can clear the land. You can do it from different other means, brushing and all, but you cannot burn those pieces of land. So we are looking at all that. Burning land destroys the soil, and definitely that destroys the earth and all those bushfires.
The question is, in the past administration, you've served for a considerable period of time as a mouthpiece of the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Food Security. Were you aware as to whether there was enough sensitization or education advocacy in the area of what farmers expect when it comes to crop rotation, when it comes to shifting cultivation, burning and slashing, all of those things? Was there a clear pathway how to get them educated? Because as we speak now, the leadership at the Environmental Protection Agency, as part of their mandate, they've embarked on what they call an eco-friendly approach with farmers, where they tend to avoid all of these delicate practices that could lead to land degradation and deforestation. So I'm asking you as to whether the past administration, there was enough education to get the farmers enlightened as to the best practices.
Well, Abdurrahman, I'll tell you there was a lot, and I'll tell you that during the time I was there, now it's the mantle of other people to take up that responsibility, and I hope that they're doing fine. When we were there, that's when we raised the awareness of bush burning, slash and burn, and all the rest of it. If you could look at all the signboards and the postboards all around the country about deforestation, afforestation with IFAD, various other projects on agriculture happened during the time that we were there. And when you look at Ministry of Agriculture, people ask why Ministry of Agriculture should support local government. Why Ministry of Agriculture was supporting district council offices. Why Ministry of Agriculture was building offices for councillors all around the country. Yes, that's the work of local government. But when you look at agricultural activities, when you look at degradation and deforestation and all this, the people that are there with their people day and night and that have leverage over their people are the district councils, are the councillors. These are the people that you could work with, bring them in your committee and all, and make sure that they understand the do's and don'ts, the modus operandi, and they could work with them. While I was there, I was working very close with the EPA, and we have various other meetings and levels that we collaborate and partner with the EPA. And definitely, I'm sure that it is still happening, that they're continuing all that. And the Ministry of Agriculture and the EPA, I mean, we're seen as one. Most of the time, the EPA use our conference centers in various meetings and all the rest of it, and we work hand in hand, because there is no way you can talk about agriculture without environmental protection. There is no way you can talk about environmental protection without talking about agriculture, because Ministry of Agriculture house or owns the Forestry Division. And if you're talking about the Forestry Division, protecting the forestry, talking about eco-friendly situation, talking about flora, protecting flora and fauna, talking about reforestation, afforestation, talking about biodiversity, talking about marine conservation and all the rest of it, it boils down on the back of the Ministry of Agriculture. And definitely the two definitely have to work. They were working together, and I believe that they're still working together. So looking at the relationship, looking at responsible agriculture that the EPA is pushing, that it's a very, very laudable venture. And I believe that, I've not gone through that, I believe that the EPA is working very close with the Ministry of Agriculture, because one thing about the Ministry of Agriculture, Abdulrahman, it is very, very dynamic. That ministry has got offices in all the 16 districts all around the country, and they have block extension workers that are down there in the villages, chiefdoms, and towns. So the structures are there. That's why these structures, all the functions have been devolved to the council, so that they work together with the Ministry of Agriculture and the district councils in various districts and everywhere. So that's why you see that the relationship and the work of Ministry of Agriculture is moving very, very smoothly. So talking about environmental protection, you cannot do agriculture without environmental protection, because under agriculture, because of weeds, because of pesticides, because of pests, you have to use pesticides, you have to use herbicides, you have to use various mechanisms, you have to use the water control, even in the inland valley swamps. You have to control the water level, you have to check for iron toxicity, because if that increases in the swamp areas, definitely that will decrease productivity. So all these things have to be looked at in the agricultural sector. So talking about increase in agriculture, increase in productivity, increase in production, you have to make sure that the A, B, and C's are being fixed around. But Abdulrahman, honestly, I want to talk about environmental activities. I do not want to be dragged into agriculture as a whole.
Okay, we come in to look also at a specific area that over time you've manifested a lot of interest, where perhaps some of these upcoming challenges ought to be addressed. The question of timber logging, and we shall come to that when I come back to you. But quickly, before I move to another insert, let me just have this from the Ministry of Defense and the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces. The Ministry of Defense and Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces will commence a detonation of arms and ammunition on Wednesday, the 1st August 2019, at the Benguima Training Center. Members of the public are kindly advised to stay away from the explosion range for their safety. This short public notice is coming from the Director of PR Info, Brigadier General Al-Hassan Bangura, from the Ministry of Defense. The West African Civil Society Forum, WASCOF, a regional body of civil societies, has updated media practitioners and the general public on their ongoing regional capacity building on the African Charter on Democracy, Good Governance, Elections at the Beauty and Conference Hall in Freetown. Francis Horton has details of this report.
Giving his press statement, the General Secretariat of WASCOF, Kolilam Mercy, said WASCOF was created by the ECOWAS as an umbrella network of civil society organizations, CSOs, from the 15 member states of ECOWAS as an advisory body, and their vision is to have a vibrant civil society in West Africa, which contributes to the attainment of a stable and prosperous West African regional characterized by democracy, human rights, good governance, and the rule of law, which are key mandate of the movement.
The 15 countries in West Africa, all the countries, 2 countries have not ratified yet. Those countries are Sierra Leone and Cape Verde, but all the Western, apart from those 2 countries, all the other countries ratified. In Africa, only 1 country reported, that is Togo, and Togo is situated in West Africa. So the reporting is the next step, the following step after the signature and the ratification of that charter. So we are here also to share experience with many CSOs, with all the CSOs here, in order to make sure that citizens are well capacitated to question their MPs, to question their governments. So when the citizens are well capacitated, they are well educated about their role and responsibilities about AFDEC, about African Charter on democracy, election, and governance. You know, in West Africa, we have an equivalent here, which is West ECOWAS protocol on good governance and democracy. AFDEC is a kind of copy-paste of that, and all West African countries have ratified and implemented that protocol on ECOWAS protocol on democracy and good governance. So those things, there are some similarities in it, but African Charter on democracy and election and governance is very important also to ratify and implement it. So every citizen in West Africa should enjoy democracy at an equal level, whether you are in Sierra Leone, in Togo, in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, etc.
Further went to state that WASCOF is functionally operating in Sierra Leone and are currently engaging 30 CSOs in the country on the African Charter on democracy, election, and governance as a way to help CSOs to ask the right question and to the right individual responsible, as well as engaging community stakeholders to help them understand what their mandates are as leader in the various community.
Civil Society Forum, we cover all the 15 countries in West Africa. We have a physical presence in every country in West Africa. And in Sierra Leone, we have WASCOF Sierra Leone, which is here in Freetown, but also in every region in Sierra Leone. So that is the same kind of structure we have in every country. We have a membership in the country, so WASCOF Sierra Leone covers all the CSOs in Sierra Leone, and we are also organized in different thematic groups: humanitarian and social affairs, women and gender, peace and security, governance, entrepreneurship, youth, employment, education, energy infrastructure, mineral, mining, natural resources, and agriculture, food security, environment, climate change, and health. So whatever the subject that touch the citizen, WASCOF is there to represent the citizen, to channelize the citizen voice to ECOWAS and vice versa. So we know that ECOWAS want to be ECOWAS of citizen, ECOWAS of people, instead of being ECOWAS of state, as we can see that today.
The national coordinator for WASCOF Sierra Leone, William Saolame, complimented the efforts of the media and urged the media practitioners to help share the information of the charter as it was signed by the head of state in 2003 at the ECOWAS summit. He maintained that WASCOF Sierra Leone has 7 committee members who are working within the mandate of WASCOF at national level, and said that by the end of the year, they are hoping to bring more CSOs into the fold.
Talks about African Charter on democracy, elections, and governance. It's a whole bulky document, and the responsibility for the dissemination of the information in this document should not only be left in the hands of civil society, as my boss rightly said. The media, the journalists are very key in all of this. Civil society cannot do anything, for us to be successful without our key partners, who are the journalists. So I want to thank you very much for coming, and we hope and pray that we'll continue with this partnership so that whatever thematic issues that is raised in Sierra Leone, you can be with us, you can be by us, so that we all advocate together on the issue.
Reporting for Star News, I'm Francis D.W. Houghton Jr.
Thank you so much, Francis Houghton, for that comprehensive report. I just want to inform members of the public that the Arms and Ammunition Specialist at the Ministry of Defense advise adequately on the environmental practices that will not lead to any degradation while the detonation exercise is ongoing. Whether you are curious to actually touch on it, I've said it now. Before I come to you, there is another public notice from the Ministry of Basic and Senior Education. The practice of some school teachers and head of schools organizing study camps outside the normal school hours for school pupils in the name of group studies for public examination is causing a lot of problems. The information that the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education has gathered regarding the ugly practices that are taking place in those camps is alarming. In that regard, the leadership of the ministry is warning all teachers, head of schools, and other individuals who are involved in the practice to desist from it with immediate effect. Any teacher or head of school who violate this directive will not only stand the risk of losing his or her job, but will equally face a full penalty of the law. Additionally, any people caught in these illegal camps will be suspended for a considerable period of time, with further action taken accordingly. Hoping that this message has been sufficiently communicated, the ministry looks forward for the cooperation of all. Signed, Dr. Alhaji Mohammed Kamara, Chief Education Officer, Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education, New Englandville. End of press release. Darami, let's concentrate our discussion on the aspect of timber logging. How delicate should a practice, and what is required of the government to actually ensure there should be some environmental friendly practices in these?
Yes, Abdulrahman, and let me just touch a little bit on the military exercise. I'm happy that you followed up on the continuing message at the end, because we do know that if they're detonating some of these ammunitions and all, they're releasing some gas into the air, and I hope that that has been taken into consideration, and make sure that they have the necessary equipment and gas to make sure that they neutralize the atmosphere because of these ammunitions being released. I'll be a part of it. I love the sound of these heavy artilleries and all. So all goes there to make sure that we monitor that. But I'll make sure that I stay out of harm's way, because you know that I can't allow myself to get injured in anything. And we're going out to the timber, and looking at timber, definitely, Abdulrahman, there's a lot of the total forest cover that we should have as a country, or country should have. It's about 15% of your total land area must be covered with thick forest and all. And what we have in Sierra Leone presently is way below the mark. I think we have less than 8% of our total land area being covered by forest. We have various national parks, the Otamba Kilimi National Park, the Kangari Hills National Park, Gola Forest National Park, and the one we have in Western area, the Western Area Peninsula Forest Reserve. When you put all this together and various other little forests, we have the Malembe Forest in Cambia and all these other ones, put them all together, all make about 8%, which is way below the threshold for the GEF and all other environmental standards. So what we should be doing as a country is increasing our forest area and our forest cover. Getting tree planting exercise once a year, whenever there's tree planting day and all, it's not that sufficient and all. We should be looking at areas that we could claim back and reforest. The National Protected Area Authority was on that drive. I do not know within the past 6 months or so how far they have gone with that, to see how we can increase our forest cover, because these are some of the things that will allow us to be able to trade in carbon and get carbon trade, which will bring a lot of money back to our people for these forest edge communities, and these communities live in this forest, and make sure that we support them with livelihood activities and try to increase that. Coming to timber logging, I just want us to understand there's only one particular species of timber that's been cut and exported out of this country, mainly. That's the Erinaceus pterocarpus, that's the Benny, the rosewood, the redwood. Different people call it different way, but the scientific name is Erinaceus pterocarpus. That's the particular tree that is being cut down, that is being shaved for export out of the country. And ever since that has been happening within the past couple of years, we have not seen a mass plantation of this particular species out there. Yes, when it's been cut down to a certain level, it will grow up again and all, but it takes a very, very long time for it to grow. So what I was expecting, if this is a trade that we as Sierra Leonean people, we are engaging, we are involved, and government is making money out of it, and we're making money out of it. I'm expecting that we should have certain activities by these companies, because I've tried to contact the company presently doing this particular activity. I mean, to see how they can support some of this reforestation and forestation activity. But it's a dead end. It seems as if no one there cares about whatever is happening and all. But previous companies that was doing it, like the CFS, the China Friendship Sierra Leone, I will tell you that was a responsible company, because they were supporting the Ministry of Agriculture, supporting Environmental Protection Agency in various tree planting, not only in the areas that they do cut these timbers from, but in various other areas, so that we can reforest our cities. Even in Freetown, Abdurrahman, some of the plantations that you could see along the Wilkinson Road, the trees that you could see along Spur Road going up towards President Lodge, what you will see at Wallace Johnson Street and some of these areas, these were activities being supported by China Friendship Salon as part of their corporate social responsibility to plant trees, do ornamentals and all the rest of it, to the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of work through SLRA and various, the EPA and the Council. But we are not seeing such activity now. And Abdurrahman, if you go to these areas, mostly in the north, where these activities have been, where the timber logging is being taking place, that's the Cambia axis going towards the Kaba Ferry, coming down to the Bombali axis, the Sanda Tendari, the Kamakwe axis. Well, towards Bile-Dixon, a lot of that is not happening there, but going towards Fintonia, going towards Tambaka, when you go to these areas, you will see the Matebo area, you will see a lot of these activities going on. There are deforestation activities, the roads have been destroyed, bridges and culverts have been destroyed, going towards the Koinadugu, the Falaba, going towards the Musaya, going towards the Dankwali, the Alkalia, all these areas in Koinadugu and Falaba. I know these areas, Abdurrahman. I travel all over this country. You will see that most of these bridges and culverts have been destroyed. I've been saying this way back during the dries. And now what we are facing, most of these roads have been cut off because of the heavy trucks plying these roads. That is not an irresponsible way of carrying on this trade. We do expect that these smaller vans or smaller vehicles will go into these villages, get these logs out into the bigger towns, and they load them up in these trucks, and they bring them down to Freetown to their depots. Like the other day I visited Hastings Airfield. I was wondering why the name of that airfield has not been transformed. I wonder what Ministry of Transport is doing. And the government, I'm bringing this to light. The government do give allocation to maintain that particular airfield. Abraham, go there. It is a timber industry, a timber logging industry. Cutting timber, shaving timber, the roads have been destroyed, the runways have been destroyed. Go there at any given time, you will see the entire airfield is being run or decorated by logging, by woods, and all the rest of it. You will believe that the Ministry of Transport is manning that particular airfield. The government do give allocation to that for that particular airfield to be maintained, and there are Ministry of Transport officials there in that particular airfield, Abdurrahman, and you see the kind of activities and power. So just take a drive. There's no fence there. Just go there one day and see exactly what is happening, and you start to think, all these logs, where have they been taken from? From our forest. So instead of we as a people, as a nation, increasing our forest reserve, we are decreasing our forest reserve, which put us in the grave danger of environmental threat and all the rest of it. I'm not saying timber trade is bad. It is good, but let it be done in a responsible way, and let us support afforestation and reforestation activities to make sure that we increase our forest reserves, and we make sure that these forests that we meet today, that we as a people, we did not plant them. They've been there since our forefathers. Let's make sure that we leave these forests intact for our kids and generations yet unborn that will come and look at all these forests. And mind you, people will come to your country because of your forest reserve, because of the biodiversity you have there, the kind of animals you have there, the kind of species. And it can be used for touristic activity and touristic attraction. But I'll tell you that we are losing that. Even the nature trail that we have in the Western Area Peninsula Forest, coming from McDonald's all the way to Mile 13, Abroman, about a month and a half ago, I tried to use that nature trail. The path is being blocked down and a lot of activities going on there. I will suggest for the police to take a walk there. I will not say why. Let them just go there. They'll make their discoveries.
Rami, I'm pretty much aware that you spent considerable period of your time as a spokesperson for the ministry, the last Minister of Agriculture, in the last administration. Many people stand to be confused when we talk of the NPPA. We talk of the EPA, the Ministry of Lands, and also the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Food Security in terms of a statutory mandate as to who is actually responsible for the management of the environment. Because pretentiously all of them seem to be having a stake in the management of the land, especially so the NPPA. What is a clear distinction?
Well, I'll come into...
As to what the current broad distinction is when it comes to these institutions.
Well, all of them complement each other's efforts, but all of them have a different role, and all these institutions are being created, they have their role. For the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, they are responsible to protect the environment everywhere, whether it's with petroleum activities, whether it's marine conservation, whether it's forestry activities and all. They are there to make sure that they protect the environment, make the policies and all to protect the environment, whether it's in the city, people are doing things out there in the streets and all. That's their responsibility, whether it's agricultural activities and all. They are there to set the pace. They are there to raise the bar. They are there to make the statement, make the policies, and they are there to make sure that they set the policies right. On the other hand, the National Protected Area Authority, they are there to protect our national reserve, our national parks, like I named just now, the Otamba-Kilimi National Park, the Kangari Hills, the Gola Forests, the Western Area Peninsula Forest, and make sure that we have other community forests that we could bring in and put under national parks, and make sure that they protect our riverine areas and all. That is the role of the National Protected Area Authority. They have the speciality in protecting these national parks. That is why they are charged with the responsibility of having the forest guards, which are the foot soldiers, to make sure that they stop logging and all these other activities and all. But I'll tell you that they are really, really underfunded. They do not have the requisite fund. They do not have all the equipment to be able to do the job. It's a very large job. And you have the Ministry of Agriculture, the Forestry Division, which is responsible to protect all forests all over the country. Not all forests are protected areas, are protected forests. You have forests that are community forests that are owned by the community people, but to protect those forests and manage those forests and make sure that we do not face all the challenges of logging and all the rest of it, it is under the responsibility of the Forestry Division of the Ministry of Agriculture. Even though the National Protected Area Authority is under the Ministry of Agriculture, working with the Forestry Division, but their own speciality is in the national parks, so that they could protect these national parks, build them up for ecotourism, and work with the Ministry of Tourism and other institutions to use them as a money-making machine. And the Ministry of Agriculture, the Forestry Division, is protecting these other forests, community forests, establishing woodlots, establishing new areas, managing the district forest, the district forest officers, making sure that they have these nurseries and all. So when you look at their roles, if you do not understand them, you've not been in the sector, it seems as if they're all doing the same thing, but they are doing different roles. And you cannot see you scrap the EPA for the NPA. You cannot see you scrap the NPA for the Ministry of Agriculture, the Forestry Division. They all have their own role, and even with the roles that they have, they do not have adequate funds. They are trying. It is still a challenge.
Okay.
So they're doing their best.
Conclusively, we don't seem to be having much time left. Correct me if I'm wrong, that your organization, Out Concern, intends to do a tree planting exercise?
Well, yes, we intend to do a tree planting exercise, but it's not actually a tree planting exercise we want to do. We are sensitizing communities all around the mountainous area and going all to the provinces and all and all. And what we're trying to do is to inculcate the idea in the people living in these areas to believe that they should plant trees, not because they should plant trees, not only because they should protect the environment, because they should protect their communities. So we'll be giving them seedlings and linking them up with nurseries where they could get these trees, so that they could plant in their community. We want to bring that drive in the case that we will not stand by and people be asking when a rain come down and people see all the dots in the street, start to ask, oh, waiting government to do. No, it's not waiting government to do. What have you done? If we make sure in every plot of land, every 2 town lot that every 2 town lot plot of land, we make sure that we plant 4 trees in every 2 town lot of land. So which means in every 1 town lot of land, we have 2 trees there. If we could carry on that drive, If we could carry it on all around the country, definitely you'll see that we increased we'll green the city, we'll green our country, and in other areas that have been shaped, you find out that with schools that I'll be moving down to secondary schools, I'll be moving down to primary schools, to make sure that I work closely with them and see how we can get funding and establish nurseries so that they could carry on this tree planting in their communities and all. And definitely we're trying to bring it down to the local level.
He is Abubakar Durami, the Executive Director for Art Concern. But as much as I'm aware, the Freezer City Council has just signed a memorandum of understanding with the Office of National Security, the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces, for the second phase of the implementation of a flood mitigation program. In this program, they intend to plant 20,000 trees as a way of preserving the environment. Maybe, just maybe, you will talk to the leadership at the FCC to see how you can complement that effort. On this note, I want to thank you so much for sparing the time being part of this program this morning. Abubakar Durami, Executive Director at Concern. Till then, I've been the presenter. My name is Abdul Rahman Khan.